All right, who is going to be on the final 49ers 53-man roster? We hit that next. But first, a mention from our sponsor, Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Get the brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary and tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. All right, this is an exercise we've done a few times this summer, and every time we do it, it's a little different and it's a little bit more difficult. And let's just get right into it right now. It's paring down the 90-man camp roster to the final 53, and there's a lot of factors: injuries, trades, practice squad, who's going to clear waivers, who's not going to clear waivers. Teams play games in and around the deadline trying to get the best players they possibly can get on their final 53-man roster. But let's just break it down. I've gone through it, and this is what I've got. We'll start at wide receiver. I think the Niners are going to keep 5, and I'm going with Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, Ronnie Bell. Now, Danny Gray looks like he's hurt right now. So's Ray McLeod. So we don't know about their status. They may start the year hurt. So they could easily vie for that 5th spot. But I'm going to go with Ayuk, Deebo, Jennings, Ronnie Bell, and Tay Martin. Tay Martin has just been fantastic this summer. This doesn't give the 49ers a lot of deep speed. So I'd be cutting or, putting on injured reserve or trading the rest of these guys. Danny Gray, Chris Conley, who's got great speed, Ray McLeod, Isaiah Winstead, Daz Newsome, and the newest 49er, Anthony Miller. So all those guys would be cut, waived, or put on PUP, put on IR. You're dealing with those guys. But I'm going with 5, and I'm going to go with my 5 best. Ayuk, Deebo, Jennings, Tay Martin, and Ronnie Bell. Tay Martin and Ronnie Bell give you 2 really, really good ball skills guys who can catch the ball and run great routes, and they can play right away. That's the great news. The bad news is teams may defend you differently if you don't have that vertical speed like Danny Gray or Chris Conley or Anthony Miller possess, or Ray McLeod. Those are your burners. Your speed is Gray, Conley, McLeod, and Miller. Miller to a little bit of a lesser extent. So I'm not going with the speed. I'm going with the sure hands over the speed at wide receiver. So those are the 5 I'm going with. At offensive line, I've got 8, and only 7 of them currently are on the roster. Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, Colton McKivitz. The starting 5, plus John Feliciano, plus Ilm Manning. And then I'm projecting a trade for that 3rd tackle spot. I do not believe the 3rd offensive tackle is on this roster. I think they'll have to trade for somebody. The guy that I would want, it would be Deontay Smith from Cincinnati if he doesn't make their roster. So there you go. Those are the 8. So I've given you 7 names there, but I'm giving you 8 offensive linemen. The 7 that I named and a 3rd one that you trade for. All right, let's go to tight end. I'm going with 3, and this is really difficult as well because Latu's had problems holding onto the ball, and there's some real value. Fumagali's had a good camp. Dwelly had a first preseason game that was strong. Warner's a very solid guy. But I'm going George Kittle and the 2 rookies, Cameron Latu and Braden Willis. And I'm not sure if this is the way it's going to come down, but I don't think Latu's going to get through waivers. I don't think Willis would get through waivers. I do think Warner, Dwelly, and Fumagalli may. So I'm going with Kittle and the youngsters, and I'm going with 3 tight ends. At quarterback, I'm going with 3, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, and I'm either trading or cutting Brandon Allen. I do believe there'll be a trade market for him. At running back, I'm going to go with 5, including, the fullback. So Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, J.P. Mason, and Ty Davis Price are my 4 running backs, and Kyle Juszczyk's my 1 fullback, and that means I'm cutting Jeremy McNichols, Brian Hill, and Jack Coletto. I'm trying to get Coletto on that practice squad as much as I possibly can. I'm a little worried about that. We will jump now to special teams. We'll skip defense. We'll go right to special teams. Special teams a little easier. I'm going with Mitch Wishnowsky, Jake Moody, and Tabor Pepper, and I'm trading Zane Gonzalez. I do believe there'll be a trade market for Zane. So now I've got 24 players on offense. I've got 3 specialists. I got 27 players. That means I got 26 spots left on my roster. And this gets very difficult. And the defense, there's a lot of depth, so this is going to be really difficult. Let's start with safety. Safety's a little easier. I'm going with Talanoa Hufanga and George Odom, as well as Tayshaun Gibson and Jair Brown. Those are my 4. I'm cutting Taylor Hawkins, who I really, really like and thinks had a great camp. And I'm trying to get him on the practice squad. And I'm cutting Miles Hartsfield, who came with Steve Wilkes from Carolina. I just haven't seen enough from Hartsfield to give him a roster spot. So I'm going 4 safeties. Now the question is, how many defensive backs am I going with? And this is really difficult. Do I go with 6 corners and 6 linebackers? Or do I go with 7 corners and 5 linebackers? I think right now I'm going to go with 7 corners and 5 linebackers. So my corners are Mooney Ward, Ambry Thomas, Deshaun Jameson, Diamador Lenore, Samuel Womack, Isaiah Oliver, and Quantrez Knight. I'm going with those 7 corners. Now, that's one more corner than I want to take, but the way that nickel spot's important, I think Steve Wilkes would like to have Isaiah Oliver against the bigger slot receivers. Quantrez is too good to cut, and I think he wants to go Demo Lenore in the slot against the smaller, shiftier slot receivers. So I'm going 7 corners. But if you go 7 corners, you can't go 6 linebackers. So my linebackers are Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Marcelino McCrary-Ball, D. Winters, and Jalen Graham. I'm going with the youth of Winters and Graham. That means I'm cutting or trading, Tizino, Kaya Tizino, Curtis Robinson, Orrin Burks, and the guy who I think would be my 6th linebacker if I went with him would be Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. So I'm basically choosing Isaiah Oliver, who I don't think's had a great camp, over Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. It's a tough call, but man, I mean, your starting linebackers are, Greenlaw and Warner. McCrary-Ball has been outstanding. Winters and Graham have been outstanding. I think they've just outplayed the guys who are strictly special teamers, Curtis Robinson, Flanagan-Fowles, and maybe to a lesser extent, Orrin Burks. Burks is also hurt. There's potential he goes on the IR, PUP. There's options there. I also believe you might be able to trade some of those guys. So I'm going 5 linebackers. I've been going 6 all summer. I'm going 11 DBs and 5 linebackers instead of 10 DBs and 6 linebackers. All right, that brings us to easily the most difficult portion of the cut down, and that is defensive line. It's vital that you pick the right guys. It's also vital that you have good ones because, Chris Kocurek plays his line in a rotation. So all these guys are going to play, and they're going to play regularly every week. So every guy on this line's got to be a player. And it's a really difficult cut down because you got a lot of really similar guys. So I have 10 spots left. So I'm going 10 D linemen. That gives you a first team, a second team, front 4, a second team, front 4, and then 2 extras after that. And my right now, I've got Nick Bosa, Drake Jackson, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave. Those are my front 4. Then I've got Cleveland Farrell, Kevin Givens, T.Y. McGill, Marlon Davidson. So then I'm at 8 right there. And I've got 2 spots left. I'm cutting or putting on the practice squad Spencer Wagee, Breland Speaks, Kalia Davis, Ladarius Hamilton. But now I've got 8 defensive linemen. I can only have 2 of these final 5 guys. And this is where it gets very difficult. There's also guys that could be cut. There could be veterans that are signed or traded for. There's options around the league that might be better than the in-house options. But I've got 8 that I like, and I'm looking for 2 more spots, and these are my internal candidates. Alex Barrett, Austin Bryant, Kerry Hyder, Javon Kinlaw, and Robert Beal. And this is really, really difficult right now because Barrett's been really good all summer, but he's a practice squad guy that probably will not get picked up if you put him through waivers. So he's probably going to be cut. Kerry Hyder is a favorite of everybody, and especially Chris Koceric, but he is a little long in the tooth. Javon Kinlaw is a former first-round pick, but, man, there's been a lot of inconsistency this summer, and there's been a lot. He only has 1.5 sacks in his career, and he doesn't anchor great against the run. So what do? Do you give him one of the spots? And then you got Austin Bryant, who you brought in from Detroit. He's got long arms, veteran pass rusher, has shown some good things, but then other times kind of disappears. And then you have the most difficult call on the entire roster, and that's Robert Beal Jr., who you drafted in the 5th round out of Georgia, and he has demonstrated these freaky 4.4 speed, long arms, crazy talent. So I can't waive Beal. I either have to put him on the injured list, and he hasn't played a lot this summer. That's another issue. So what do you do for those last couple spots? And then there's the chance that, you know what, you may not go with any of them, and you may go externally for both spots. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut Barrett, cut Hyder, cut Bryant, go with Kinlaw, put Beal on IR or PUP. I'm not waiving Beal. And then I think I'm going to go try to get an outside defensive end from somebody else. So my 10 would be Drake, Armstead, Hargrave, Farrell, Kinlaw, Givens, T.Y. McGill, Marlon Davidson, Nick Bosa. I'm a little tackle heavy for sure, right? Because I got Armstead, Hargrave, Givens, Kinlaw, McGill, and Davidson. I've got, literally six interior guys, which is a lot. But Davidson does have some speed. He could play outside. Bosa, Farrell, and Jackson are my ends right now, and I really don't have. I've got 3, and I'm really going for. I'd like to have 4. So it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very, very difficult. I would say, I'm trading for a defensive end, or I'm picking up a defensive end that somebody else cuts, and I'll go with Javon Kinlaw, and the rest of those guys I'm putting either waived or IR, PUP. I'm trying not to lose Robert Beal. I don't want to lose Kerry Hyder, but Austin Bryant and Alex Barrett, I'll take my chances with losing those guys. There could be a trade here. The defensive line definitely is loaded, but it also is loaded with a lot of question marks. You really only have 8 solid guys out of 10. And then you've got question mark Beal, question mark Kinlaw, question mark Hyder, question mark Barrett, question mark Bryant. I mean, there's a lot of question marks there. And then there's also guys around the league that are unsigned. You could go get a Jason Pierre-Paul, a Melvin Ingram, a veteran. You could go sign somebody that gets cut in another camp. There's a number of trade options. So very, very difficult. Very difficult. If Matt Ioannidis is out there as an interior guy. If you didn't want to go with Kinlaw, you could go sign Ioannidis, who played for Steve Wilkes last year in Carolina. Kind of a workman-like defensive tackle. You always need edge rush. So maybe you cut one of these tackles and go with a couple edge rushers. It's just a very difficult final call. But Drake Jackson, Armstead, Hargrave, Cleveland Farrell, Kevin Givens, T.Y. McGill, Marlon Davidson, Nick Bosa. Definitely those 8 guys are going to be on, and now I'm looking for 2 more. And I'd probably go Kinlaw and a trade candidate over the guys that they have right now, Bryant, Hyder, Beal, and Barrett. Very difficult cut, but there we are. We're at 53. Hope you enjoyed the exercise and the video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Off to training camp for another day of 49er football. Have a great day, everybody, and thanks for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.